modeling turned into nude acting for me pretty quickly. I found a gig online looking for background dancers. This job wasn't even calling for a lot of nudity, so I was like, yeah, I can do that. Like I have a lot of training in dance, informal dance, ballet, jazz, tap, contemporary, all that. So I'm always very aware of my body. I still am, and I was back then too. So I knew I could do a background dancing gig. So I got called onto set. It was in a nightclub disguised as a strip club, and I was approached by the director. He actually directed The Red Shoe Diaries with David Duchovny. So he approached me and said, basically, like, told me that I looked good and asked me if I could read and remember lines. And me being the cocky person that I was at the time, was like, yeah, of course I can read lines. Like, how hard can it be? But you know what? When I took that script home, I had overnight to memorize them. I mean, maybe he assumed that I was more seasoned and more trained than I was, because at that point I hadn't taken an acting class yet. I was just a model turned actor, or trying to be. So I had a hard time remembering those lines. Like, that was the more stressful part. I stopped thinking about whether or not I looked fat on camera or anything like that, because I just got upgraded from background to a speaking role. So I was pretty scared, but it wasn't even about the nudity. I mean, that was an underlying thing. I was still feeling weird. Like, am I sexy and womanly? Like, with my small little boobs, do I look like a boy? Like, there was all those concerns, and the script was actually something I could really relate to. My character was doing a little confessional, just talking to the camera about how she brought a guy under a bridge that she met randomly and had sex with him. So, you know what? I was a little bit of a party girl back in my day, and I also, if you haven't noticed, a bit of an exhibitionist too. So the idea of meeting a guy and then having sex with him under a bridge sounded pretty good, and like something I would do, or something I had already done. So that part was easy to relate to, but when you take someone else's words and spit them out, and they're supposed to sound like your own, word for word, it's actually trickier than you think. It's a lot easier right now to play myself and just talk to you about my life than to remember even like 4 or 5 sentences. So I remember getting the lines as good as I could with the amount of experience that I had. Walking in the next day, so nervous that I couldn't even think about the part where I have to sit down naked and not look like a frumpy person. They actually had me sitting down by a stripper pole. So there was a slight moment where I stopped thinking about the lines and like felt like, you know, when you sit, you don't have the best posture. I felt like a little bit of like a potato. But all in all, the day went all right. I mean, when they bring you on set and there is something naked that's happening, they actually take everyone that doesn't need to be on set out of the room, so there's as much privacy as possible. I mean, there are still lighting guys, sound guys, the director, there's all kinds of assistants. So makeup, hair, they're all still hanging out on set, and it is a bit more nerve-wracking than modeling. Well, one, because I had those extra lines that I didn't know I had to memorize until the day before. I thought I was going to be dancing on a pole. So that part was the most nerve-wracking. And afterwards, actually, this is the funny part. You think that after you film a nude scene, that's it, right? Sometimes there are voiceovers. Sometimes there are scenes where things happen and they need you to come back in and do sound. So I had a scene where there was a bit of a hookup situation happening, but afterwards I got called back in to do the sound. The only thing is, I mean, while you're on set, the director is telling you during a nude scene, like while you're hooking up with someone, like, okay, be louder, have a like bigger orgasm. Okay, less of an orgasm now. Do this, like move here. And so you're listening to a lot of instructions and you're doing what you can with your scene partner while rolling around naked and also wondering, okay, what are the boundaries? I mean, this is softcore, so I wasn't doing anything for real, you know, but there were still scenes where I pretty much, you know, it's like, go down on this girl, she's going to go down on you, and it's going to be like this whole sexy romantic scene in a change room. So, but the thing is, when you're doing it, it's not as sexy. I mean, like, my scene partner, she was gorgeous, she was hot, she was in Playboy. Any other situation, without all the lights and cameras on me, I would have felt completely differently, but it was more mechanical than I thought it would be. So we're basically being told instructions on what to do, where to go, where to move our bodies, that kind of thing. So after we film all those scenes, I had to get called in to do some voiceovers. But me, as a rookie, I thought, okay, we did the scene. They've got everything done. All right, I'm going to go book a dentist appointment. So I book a dentist appointment to get one of my wisdom teeth out. And I get called in for a voiceover. So I'm sitting there thinking, okay, so when do we need to do this voiceover? And they tell me tomorrow. I tried to push it back. I mean, I've got a hole in my mouth. There's cotton in there. I can barely talk to them on the phone. It was my first wisdom tooth that I ever had taken out. I'm not feeling so great. Giving me Tylenol 3s, which I don't do so well with painkillers. They make me feel kind of sick. So I'm thinking, okay, how am I going to do this? But I have to do this. So the next day, with my mouth full of cotton, I go into a sound booth and have, once again, a bunch of people watching while the director tells you how loud you need to, That's basically what I did for an hour with cotton in my mouth, bleeding all over the place, having to take some breaks to, like, rinse my mouth out and be less gross. But yeah, that was what it was like filming my first nude and first orgasm scene on a TV show. I wish I could tell you that we actually did hook up and it was super crazy and it was like real porn on set, but actually it's pretty professional and pretty calculated, and they know what they want, and it's not like filming amateur porn at all, which is something I like to do in my free time. So that was my first experience as a nude actor. Well, there's a couple little stories to get started. I'm going to end story time and first times for now, but again, if anybody wants to share their first time either being naked in public or naked on camera or anything like that, any first time story that you want to share, you can hit me up on social media. I'm at Kate Maxx, Kate_Maxx_ on Instagram and Twitter. So let me know. Let me know what your first experiences were like being naked in front of other people or having your picture taken, or even what it was like taking a naked selfie. I always want to know how it went down for other people and if it was similar to my experience.